And up next, we have The Pianist. Great Oscar-winning film with an Oscar-winning performance by Adrien Brody. And this movie's fantastic. Also winner for Best Director and Adapted Screenplay. This is a film about Watchdogs Slipman. Yeah. He and his family were taken to what was known as the gallows during World War II, which was essentially where a lot of the Jewish community were imprisoned before they were sent to concentration camps during World War II. And so Slipman and his family were basically separated. And yeah, this is a really great movie, very dramatic film, but really great. Also want to check out is Platoon, Best Picture winner in 1986. This is a great Vietnam War film that shows the dehumanizing effects of war and how the war can turn someone into, strip them of their humanity. And just all the horrible things that the soldiers do. Very powerful. I have a hard time deciding which Vietnam War film I like more. Either Platoon or Full Metal Jacket. I can't really decide. They're both really great. So I can't really pick, between that and the other. They're both excellent and in different ways. Pillow Talk. Rock Hudson's a songwriter who shares a phone line with an interior decorator, and then they fall in love. Yeah, this is my favorite Doris Day movie. This is my favorite Doris Day movie, and this is also my favorite pairing between Doris Day and Rock Hudson. They did 3 films together. The others were Send Me No Flowers and Lover Please Don't Come Back or something. I think that's what it was called. But this is my personal favorite of the 3, and this is just absolutely fantastic. So I have no complaints with this one at all. It's just brilliant, it's funny, it's charming, it's clever, and it's great. Alright, next we have the Police Academy films. The first one, this was signed by Wesley Esterbrook when I met her. I don't remember what she was telling me, but basically something about how one of the filming locations was in a military base or something. Anyway, yeah, Wesley Esterbrook, her right there. Yeah, basically a satire on police training and police recruitment. So you have a pretty good cast. Also, Bubba Smith, the guy who does like the sound effects, is absolutely hilarious. Police Academy 2, Reverse Assignment. Yes, I have all of them. Wesley Esterbrook, not in this one. And this is when they started to get more family friendly, let's put it that way. Yep. That was decent. I've only seen the first 2. I have not seen the other ones. 3, Back in Training. Wesley Esterbrook back. And I don't really know. 4, Citizens on Patrol. 5, Assignment Miami Beach. 6, City Under Siege. And 7, Mission to Moscow. Also, you have an unrelated movie called Loaded Weapon 1, which is basically a parody of Lethal Weapon. Yeah, I have all the movies. I've not seen all of them. Passion of a Christ. Okay. When this movie came out in 2004, this movie drew polarized reactions. Some people were reprehensible by it and, forbidding, basically telling people don't see this movie. While others saw it and their faith was restored thanks to this movie. I haven't seen this. I have not seen this movie yet. I know what it is. The same ideas like Jesus Christ Superstar or King of Kings or whatever. It's that same story of like the last days of Jesus. And I do want to give it a chance, but I just have not really had the courage to watch it. And also this movie drew controversy, not just because of the content, but also because of the fact that people were claiming it was anti-Semitic. Which I don't know. No matter where you stand, religious or not, it definitely drew quite a reputation when it first came out. Anyway, on a more lighthearted note, the Pink Panther. Now, a lot of people think that the Pink Panther series is actually about Inspector Clouseau. Watch the first one again. Watch the first original film again, and you realize it's actually not about Inspector Clouseau. He's only in like 1/3 of this movie. The movie's actually about David Niven, who's trying to steal this precious diamond called the Pink Panther from Quade Cardinale. And yeah, but Inspector Clouseau's trying to figure out what's going on, but he's very, very klutzy. And yeah, this movie is absolutely great. The music by Henry Mancini is awesome. The cast is great. David Niven, Peter Sellers, Robert Wagner, and Quade Cardinale. And it's just great. And actually, the only reason why we have the Pink Panther character is because of the animated sequence in the beginning of the movie that was designed by, in part, by Blake Edwards. So yeah, it's because of those two things that we have to thank for even the fact that we have a Pink Panther cartoon series at all, and the character itself. So yeah, I've not seen the sequels. The sequels is when it became about Inspector Clouseau. So fair, just to clear up any confusion. Point Break. This movie's great. Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves. This movie has everything. Bank robbers who are surfers, FBI agents trying to infiltrate them, car chases, skydiving, fistfights, bank robbery, surfing. Yeah, this movie has all the action cliches rolled up into one. Pollock. The film about artist Jackson Pollock, Ed Harris, and an Oscar-winning performance by Marcia Gay Harden. Now, was Marcia Gay Harden... what's her name? Lee Krasner, yeah, she was his lover, girlfriend. Yeah, I remember that movie now. Alright, next. Come on. Poltergeist. Oh yes, this movie. This was the first horror film I ever saw when I was 12, back in 2005. And this movie right here is very important to me in a lot of ways. But man, let me tell you, this movie really packs a punch. If you've never seen this movie, I don't want to give much away, but this is one of the greatest horror films of all time. I mean, where do I begin? I don't want to give much away, but this is a very important film to me. Or not very important, but this is another movie I can't live without because of how it introduced me to the world of horror. There's so many moments that stick out in my head. You know, the TV, the static TV, the closet scene, the giant tree near the backyard, the clown doll, whatever, the climax toward the end. Oh, I just love that movie. And I also have a sequel for no apparent reason. Again, remember I was 14 when I started collecting these. Poltergeist 2 and 3. The only thing I remember about the second one was that the second one had most of the cast back. And the only thing I remember about the third one was that it took place in the John Hancock building in Chicago. I'm trying to find the Shout Factory releases, but I think they went out of print a while ago. Pretty in Pink. One of John Hughes' best, even though he didn't direct it. He wrote it. Molly Ringwald and... who's the guy playing Ducky? Oh, John Cryer. Yeah, John Cryer. This pretty decent movie. Next, we have Pirates Band of Misfits. One of these family video cases. I think this is an Armin movie, but I haven't seen this in a long time. Actually, what's great about these cases is the sound they make. Oh, that's just so classic. Yeah, when you return these in the door, in the slot, they make like a iconic sound. So at least I have a piece of that. Places in My Heart, a great film with Sally Field, who took home her second Oscar. This is a film that sort of combines elements of Gone with the Wind with fried green tomatoes, set in a plantation, or I think it's like, not a plantation, but it's like a cotton field during the Great Depression. Anyway, Sally Field, Danny Glover, John Malkovich, Ed Harris. Really great film, so definitely check that out. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Oh, I try to watch this every Thanksgiving. The thing about road movies, particularly road trip comedies, is they're usually really terrible. Road trip dramas are fine, for the most part, if done well, but road trip comedies are usually pretty bad. This is one of the exceptions. Steve Martin and John Candy stuck with each other trying to get home for Thanksgiving, and I think this is the only good Thanksgiving movie I can think of. It's meaningful, it's heartfelt, but it's funny, but it's also heartfelt. So there's a lot more meaning to it than you may think. And actually, the funniest scene in the movie is where Steve Martin's at the airport and he's like ranting and waving about wanting a new car. It's just hilarious. Next is the original Planet of the Apes. One of my favorite films. This is one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time. The makeup is amazing. I'm blanking on who did the makeup of this. Charlton Heston and Roddy McDowall. Every time I see this movie, I always feel like I'm watching it for the first time because of a twist at the end, which the twist at the end is one of the most iconic twists in film history. But these newer ape movies don't even compare with the original charm and creativity of the original film. And I also have an issue with the newer movies, despite the fact that I kind of like most of those movies. But yeah, one of the greatest of all time. And then we have the Reimagining by Tim Burton. I'll be honest, it's one of the better remakes I've seen. Though I can't go out of my way to say that it's really good. The makeup is good. I mean, who did the makeup? Rick Baker, yeah. The Rick Baker makeup is good. The costume design by Colleen Atwood's good. The score is not bad. The cast is decent. You have Mark Wahlberg, Tim Roth, Helena Bonham Carter, Michael Clarke Duncan, Chris Christopherson, Paul Giamatti. Yeah, you have a decent cast and everything. You do have decent values in this one. But the problem is, there just was no need to remake Planet of the Apes. There just was no need at all. It's okay. I've seen worse remakes, but it just doesn't compare with the original. Actually, I'm trying to get all the Apes movies. I'm trying to get all of them. I only have like a very few, but I have seen all of them, including the newest one, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, it was okay. The original is fantastic. The remake is just and the other movies, like I'm talking about the newer ones, not the original movies. Beneath, Escape, Conquest, and Battle. The newer movies, I do have an issue with them, and we'll get to them, and I'll get to the issue why when we talk about War for Planet of the Apes. Please Don't Eat the Daisies, with Doris Day and David Niven. I don't remember this movie, but I do remember the theme song. Please, please don't eat the daisies, please. I remember that one. Pretty Women. Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. Great rom-com, though they play it on TV all the time, and I don't know why. They play this movie constantly, and it drives me nuts. I like the movie fine, don't get me wrong, but man, did they play this a lot. And to be fair, though, it is one of Gary Marshall's best movies. It's fine. Pretty Women's a great film. I just feel like they play it way too many times. Alright, next we have two adaptations of Pride and Prejudice. The 1940 version with Greer Garson and Laurence Olivier. And we have the Keira Knightley one from 2005. This is the one I saw. And I also recommend this one above the other ones. It's a pretty decent... I mean, the story of Pride and Prejudice is about social class, which it works to an extent. So it deals with romance, challenging social classes. It deals with Pride of the Yankees, a fantastic film with Gary Cooper about Lou Gehrig, who played for the New York Yankees before being diagnosed with ALS. Now, this is a really good movie. Definitely one of Gary Cooper's best performances. The only issue I had with accuracy was the speech he gave at the end. See, before Lou Gehrig left the New York Yankees for the last time, he gave a speech, and it's one of the most iconic speeches in baseball history. Well, part of his speech was reproduced for the movie, but the problem is that a lot of the dialogue doesn't exactly match what he said, other than like the beginning and the end. But it is a really great speech, though. It's just not. It's just don't expect it to be a very faithful speech. On top of that, this is one of my favorite films about baseball out there. I'm not kidding. Piranha, the original from 1978. Just watched this recently, and it wasn't what I expected at all. I kept hearing over and over, this is Roger Corman's version of Jaws. Yes and no. There's only like one scene that rips off Jaws. Every other aspect of this movie is pretty original. There's only one scene in this movie that rips off Jaws somewhat. The rest of the movie is entirely original. And not to mention, it's directed by Joe Dante. He's a pretty decent director on his own, so he's able to actually make it work. And on top of that, the idea of piranhas ending up in fresh water, pretty terrifying. And not to mention, they're not just any piranha fish, but they're also I'm trying to think of a word. Genetically mutated piranhas. The Prince of Tides. So, are we going to get a Criterion edition of this or not? I know it exists, but I can't find it anywhere, and this movie has been just kind of sitting in forgotten land for the longest time. Barbra Streisand and Nick Nolte. I'm trying to think if this movie's a romance film or a straight drama. Speaking of straight drama, Pride. The first all-African-American swim team led by Terrence Howard and Bernie Mac. I think during the 1960s, but I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen this film. Doesn't have a Blu-ray, but I really... it's been a long time since I've seen this. It's been a long time since I've seen that. I think I saw that maybe once or twice when I was like 15 and haven't seen it since. Here we go. One of my favorites. The Poseidon Adventure. This is one of the greatest disaster films of all time. One of the cornerstone, excellent masterwork disaster films. With an all-star cast that includes Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Red Buttons, Carol Winley, Roddy McDowall, Stella Stevens, Shelley Winters, Arthur O'Connell, Wesley Nielsen. Irwin Allen's disaster masterpiece right here. I can't tell if I like this one more or the Towering Inferno. It's one of the two. But this has always been one of my favorite disaster films. I saw this when I was 12. But man, I remember this film so well. I absolutely love this film. Definitely one of the best disaster films of all time. A masterpiece right here. Especially like the great practical effects, the survival aspect is there, and also like you actually feel like you're there, which is amazing. You actually feel like you're with these characters, so it's amazing. And then we have a remake from 2006. Now, I remember seeing this in theaters when I was a kid, because I remember as a kid seeing the poster for this being like, you know, like upside down with a ship, and then the Poseidon logo there. So I do remember that. But other than that, I don't remember the movie at all. I just don't find this like as memorable as the Poseidon Adventure. I do remember that Kurt Russell and Richard Dreyfuss were in it, but that's it though. The Polar Express. You know, of all the motion capture movies, this is one of the better ones. I mean, Monster House was good, and so was, I'm trying to think of that one movie now. I'm blanking on it, but it was, Beowulf, that's it. Beowulf did age pretty well. Same with this. But like the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol hasn't aged all that great, I'll be honest. It's hard getting motion capture right, and they just can't really do it. It was an experiment, but some of it worked and some of it didn't. This one thankfully worked. Especially the ending song, When You Believe. That was a really good song, though. But yeah, I do watch this sometimes. I didn't include it on my Christmas films list because I don't know. I just think it's an okay little movie. I don't really. I like a lot of it. I like how it enhances many of the aspects from the original book that actually came with an actual bell. But I don't know. I don't know why I didn't include it. It's not a bad movie, not in the slightest. It's not. It doesn't fit into the best Christmas films list because it has some issues with the motion capture, and it doesn't fit in with the worst because there's a lot of good aspects in it. So, including like the theme of believing in the Christmas spirit and everything. But Possession, I saw this before. This was pretty good. This is a pretty good movie, though not quite as good as other movies. But this scared me when I first saw it. And the fact that it claims it's a true story when it most likely isn't is. Next we have Primeval, the true story of Gustav, the crocodile that killed, I think, maybe like 100 people or something. This is great. I really like this film. It's a really great killer croc movie. But this is the only one I can think of that was actually a true story. But I only have one issue with this movie. So apparently the writers felt like they needed to tie Gustav's killing spree with the African genocide that was going on at the time. I think of the 80s or 90s, I don't remember exactly. Which, the truth is, these two events weren't even related to one another. So that was really dumb. But other than that, it was a good movie. Precious. One of my favorite films. This is one of my favorite dramas of all time. This is a film dealing with child abuse and how to, break away from it. And this is a really fantastic film. Monique's Oscar-winning performance as the mom was terrifying. Mariah Carey as the therapist. And Precious herself, played by newcomer Gabrielle Sidibe, who has since gone on to write a book and starred in the American Horror Story series. And this is just a really meaningful film that really shows how one can break away from child abuse and how to break away from an abusive relationship. Next we have the Predator movies, or at least two of them. The first, Predator from 1987 is awesome. One of Arnold Schwarzenegger's best, and definitely one of the best action sci-fi films out there. And the Predator became a well-known foe, hiding in the jungles and attacking its prey. But this is just a really fantastic action sci-fi. I've seen some people put it under action, but I've also seen some people put it under sci-fi. But Predator is awesome. I didn't like Predator 2. I just felt like the Predator in the city just didn't fit with me. But I might pick it up later or something. But I did like Predators. Predators was a decent little movie. Not quite as good as Predator, but the fact that we have the Predator on a distant planet in space, that's like a wooded, a forest type planet, kind of like Endor, but more terrifying. And yeah, you have Adrian Brody in here, and it's decent. It's a decent film, I will say. I didn't really have much of an issue with it. Yeah, Adrian Brody's different than Arnold Schwarzenegger for sure. I did see The Predator, which was terrible. It was pretty bad, but I'll pick it up anyway. And I have not seen Prey yet, the prequel to Predator. So I have not seen that yet. Premonition. I saw this so long ago. I just remember like being confused by it. I didn't feel like it really delivered on what it promised. I just felt like it was okay. Man, I saw this so long ago. Back in 2000, I saw this back in 2007. And I only saw it maybe like once or twice. I don't remember, but I just remember being like confused by it. It just had a very confusing narrative. And last film for this chunk of a shelf, we have Prom Night, the original from 1980. Now, I remember this film very well. I remember watching this, like, I remember watching the trailers for it back in around 2007 because I was too young to see these movies at the time. And I remember hearing that quote over and over, if you're not back by midnight, you won't be coming home. And I just felt like, what does that mean? I saw the remake, and the remake was nothing compared to this. Absolutely nothing compared to this. But when you watch the original, not only does it have a different storyline, but it's also way million times better. It is way better, especially the twist at the end and kind of a reason why characters are getting killed off. It has a much better story. It's better paced. Check out the original Prom Night. Avoid the remake, which actually we'll get to the remake in a little bit here.